Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Cassidy if you're new here. Thanks so much for watching. Today's video is my January wrap-up. I know it's already into February, but I really wanted to share the books I read this month because although it might not seem like a lot to some people, I feel pretty good about the amount of books that I read. So in January, I read 10 books, 10 and a half if we really want to go there, but it's a sore subject why I didn't finish the 11th book, but I am going to finish it. So anyways, let's get into it. So the first 4 books I read were the Magnolia Parks Universe series. I've talked about these books in multiple videos now, I think, so I don't want to go too much in depth into the books. If you want to hear more about the books, you can check out my Ranting About Magnolia Parks books. So if you want to learn more about those books, you can check out that video. I read that series on my Kindle. I read it at the beginning of the month. Those were the first books that I read. And I'm gonna give the series a 3 out of 5. I didn't love the series. If you don't know what the books are about, it basically follows these London socialites, kind of like Gossip Girl vibes. The characters are set in their 20s and it basically follows their love lives. It's just a lot of drama and a lot of rich elite people having sex, drinking, partying. It's a lot of drama. I think it's definitely a good book if you're or a good series if you're looking for something that's not too serious. And also if you don't like a lot of steaminess in the books, if you don't like a lot of the sex scenes, I think it's a good book for you because there wasn't a lot of that. It was romance and more drama. So it's not like just romance. I think there's more stuff that can capture your attention. But it's also cool because this series follows kind of 2 couples, and so the first book follows one couple, Magnolia and BJ. The second book follows Christian and Daisy. So they're kind of all in the same friend group. So you're seeing all of these characters throughout all of the books. And then the third book goes back to Magnolia and BJ. And then the fourth book goes back to Daisy and Christian. But while you're reading all of these books, all the characters are present. So it's kind of cool in that sense. I think it kind of lost me when I felt like I was just rereading the same scenes throughout the third and fourth books, just in different characters' perspectives, and I felt like it was getting kind of repetitive and like I didn't really need to reread scenes that I'd already read in previous books. Overall, it was okay, not my favorite. Gorgeous covers though, I am obsessed with the covers. So props for that. But yeah, I would give it a 3 out of 5. Next, I read the Dreamland Billionaires series, the first 2 books. I think the third book just came out, and I definitely want to read that. So the Dreamland Billionaires series follows 3 brothers. Technically, all of the books are standalones, but they're interconnected, and each book follows a different brother. So the first book follows Rowan and Zara's relationship. Basically, all of the brothers work for Dreamland-ish. Anyways, their grandpa owns Dreamland, which is basically Disney World, honestly. Like, they call it Dreamland, but let's be honest, it's Disney. It's just a big amusement park, and the grandpa dies, and the grandpa dies. Why did I say it like that? That was harsh. He's dead. In order for the brothers to get their inheritance from the grandpa, they each have to complete a certain task. And so the first book follows Rowan, and his task is, I'm gonna be honest, I can't remember what his task was. I figured out what his task was. It was basically to identify Dreamland's weaknesses and then come up with a plan to like improve the park. Zara is an employee at Dreamland and she gets moved up to a creator, so basically creating rides and things like that in the park. And It's very much a grumpy sunshine trope to the book. It starts off enemies and then they become friends and then they become lovers. Yeah, it was really good. Rowan is definitely like the ultimate grumpy character, like the grumpy guy. It's like a workplace romance also because he's her boss. Rowan, I know I just said he was like the ultimate grumpy character, but he was also like really rude. And I need to start writing down like right after I read books because I'm like kind of forgetting how I actually felt about the book, but I know that like he was really rude. There was like, obviously he had a soft spot for Zara. That's like the classic like grumpy guy, but he has like a soft spot for the main character. Like a lot of times I despise, well, let's just talk about Disney adults because I despise them. If you're obsessed with Disney and you're an adult, stop being obsessed with Disney. Get a new hobby. It's weird. I think that's like a little bit of a turnoff from the book, but don't let that be a turnoff because it's really not about, it's not about people being obsessed with like the park, except for Zara. Like she does love it, but it's not in a cringy way, I don't think. It's just like she like kind of grew up there, so she really likes it. But I did think the relationship was believable. Like I really liked the banter back and forth between the two of them. I thought it was really cute and like it was angsty and like there was a lot of build up to it. So I really enjoyed that. So I think I would give this book a 4 out of 5. I don't want to give it a 5 out of 5 because I do feel like it was predictable, but like what romance book isn't predictable? The next book in the series, oh, did I even say what the title was? I didn't. The Fine Print was the first book. Then I read the second book, which is Terms and Conditions. This book follows Declan and Iris. Declan's mission, I don't want to call it a mission, but in order for Declan to receive his inheritance from the grandpa, what he had to do is find a wife and marry a woman and have a baby, which like the baby part, even like marrying someone feels a little like we're just stuck in the past. Like you gotta marry a woman and have that baby, you know what I mean? But it was cute. So Iris basically works for Declan and she finds him a wife to marry, but he's basically just like, he's like a miserable person and he has like no personality at the beginning. And so the girl that Iris found for him to marry like backed out at the last second. And then Iris is like, I'll do it, which she's signing up to fully marry him and have a baby with him. And she's like, I'm a good employee. I'll do it. I did think the book was really cute and they also had really good banter. It's another thing where it's like grumpy sunshine, I think, and it's like that's her boss, so there's weird boundaries. And like at first they're like, oh, you're still my employee and let's not make it weird. This is like, he almost treats it as this is Iris's job. She's just fulfilling her role. And then as you go through, it's like he realizes that he likes her, that he wants to actually be with her. So again, I'll give it a 4 out of 5. Again, it was predictable, but it's really good chemistry between the characters. The steaminess was there. Like, it is a really good book. Like, I found myself flying through it. I read it pretty quickly. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I think the third book just came out, so I do want to read the third book. But overall, I mean, so far it's a really good series and I would recommend. I feel like it's gotten some bad comments. I think it's a pretty good book, so I would read it. The sixth book I read was By a Thread by Lucy Score. I went on a weird Lucy Score binge. I read 2 more of her books after I read By a Thread, but it's because something about her writing just had me like in a weird trance. I just really liked her writing, and I know right now everyone's obsessed with her book, Things We Never Got Over. It's with like the flowers on the front. You know what I'm talking about because you've seen it everywhere. It's all over TikTok. But I haven't read that one because I'm thrown off by the kid. I don't know why I'm thrown off by the kid. I think it's just because like I don't like kids, which shouldn't be why I don't read a book, but I don't know. I really don't want to read it. And I can't tell you why because I like Lucy Score. By a Thread follows Dominic and Allie. Now that I'm talking about all of these books, it's like I'm really following a theme of grumpy sunshine, workplace romance. I don't know what got into me this month, but that seems like it's all I've read. Basically, Dominic is a grumpy grump and he goes to lunch with his mom and he basically gets the waitress fired, Allie, And when she leaves the restaurant, Dominic's mom follows after her and basically apologizes for her son being so rude to her and is like, I'm gonna offer you a job. Dominic also works for the mom. So when Allie goes in for her job that Monday or whatever, he's like, oh my God, what are you doing here? Like, I'm gonna get you fired. Like, I don't want you here. And she's like, you can't. Your mom hired me. So it's basically just following Dominic and Allie. Dominic is like super concerned though when they do start realizing that they have these like this like tension between the like sexual tension between the two of them. He's like, we can't do anything about it. Like, if you want to be with me, then you have to quit. And she's like, well, I'm not quitting my job. Like, I'm not doing that. And it's basically because his dad used to run the company, and the dad like was caught cheating with employees. So that's why he's so concerned about having like a workplace romance and being seen as like a predator. Allie obviously very much likes him, so it wouldn't be the same thing as his dad. But I mean, I guess I understand. But it was really good. I mean, it's a classic workplace romance, grumpy sunshine. Like, he has a soft spot for Allie and no one else, and then she turns him into like a better person. But it was good. I'd give it like a little over a 4 out of 5. I enjoyed it. They're always cringy, right? Like, they're always gonna be a little bit cringy, but I feel like you just kind of have to accept the cringe and just keep going. The next book I read was also by Lucy Score, The Worst Best Man. I literally read this on my Kindle. Well, I read by a thread on my Kindle, and then The Worst Best Man like popped up after I'd finished it, popped up like books you might like or whatever. And I was like, all right, I'll give it a try. I did talk about this book in my last video, so I won't go into too much detail about what it's about, but it basically follows Aiden and Francesca. Both of their best friends are getting married, so they're both in the wedding and they hate each other. Aiden's not looking for a relationship, and Frankie doesn't want to be with Aiden because he's rude. But over the course of the wedding, something before the wedding, and then the actual wedding, they start realizing that there's feelings there. And so it basically follows the two of them. There's a whole lot of drama. Again, it's like Aiden, rich guy, Frankie, grad student, doesn't have that much money. And, you know, Aiden's kind of like grumpy, and then they get together eventually. But it was really good, and I really enjoy Lucy Score's writing. So I would give it, I'm gonna go 4 out of 5 again, which I'm giving like all the books a 4 out of 5, but, well, except for Magnolia Parks, but we won't talk about that. The 9th book I read was yet again another book by Lucy Score. This one, Undercover Lover. I wanted a really quick book to read because it was nearing the end of January, and I was like, okay, I need to read this book for my book club with my friends. I really needed to read that book, but I was like, I can fit in one more romance book before I read the book for the book club. So this book popped up like after I finished The Worst Best Man, also by Lucy Score. So I was like, all right, I know I like her writing. It was like under 300 pages. So I was like, okay, cool, a quick short romance. So this book follows Ashley and Jason. Ashley is engaged to Steven, and she basically discovers that he's cheating on her, and so she gets with Jason, and they're kind of working together to take Steven down. I don't like the cheating trope. Like, regardless of the fact that Steven was already cheating on Ashley with someone else, and that someone else was a terrible person, I don't think it's ever okay to cheat on anyone. Even if it's justified, I feel like they justified it, and they were like, well, Steven's already cheating. I'm already halfway out of the relationship, and I know, like, Ashley knew she wasn't going to stay with Steven, so she got with Jason, and she was only staying in the relationship and pretending to be in the relationship so that she could help Jason, like, destroy Steven. But I still don't think that it's okay. Like, I don't know, that did kind of rub me the wrong way, but it was good. It was short and quick. It didn't pull me in as much as the other 2 books by Lucy Score did. I think maybe just because it was so short and like I couldn't get that invested in the characters, but it also could have been because the cheating trope just like isn't for me. But overall, it was pretty good. I think if you're looking for like a short romance and just something really easy to read, it was definitely like easy reading. I got through it really quick. but I think I'm gonna give that like a 3.5 out of 5. I don't think it was bad, but I don't think it was amazing. And then the next book I read was actually a collection of poems. And this book I didn't read on my Kindle. I have the physical copy here. Closer Baby Closer by Savannah Brown. This is actually an advanced copy. This comes out February 14th, so if you are interested in reading this, you should definitely get it when it comes out. It's so good. I love Savannah Brown's writing. I've read her like young adult books, and then I have her other poetry books that my friend lent to me. She really let me borrow all of her books. I really enjoy all of her books, and I reached out to her after I saw her post on her Instagram about sending out advanced copies of her poetry, her newest poetry collection. So I reached out to her and she actually sent me the book, which is so exciting. I genuinely couldn't believe that she actually responded and actually sent me her book. Like, it's just insane to me. It's so cool. Like, I can't get over it. But I read it and it's amazing. I think poetry for me is something that, like, I can't just sit down and read the whole book. I feel like sometimes I like to go through the book and just open it up to a random page and read the poem, and then the next day maybe flip to another random page, read the poem, and just kind of digest it. I feel like poetry works slower that way, where you kind of have to read it once and then maybe read it a few more times, come back to it to really like fully understand the poem. Savannah Brown's poetry, it's not like super dense where it's like, what is she trying to say? I feel like it's intimate and it has humor, and I think she just has such a beautiful way of writing that it doesn't feel like, I think sometimes poetry can just feel too hard to get into where it's like intimidating, and this poetry is like, it's really approachable. Like, I really enjoy her writing, and so I strongly urge you to go buy the book when it comes out. I think it's just so cool. And I posted a few things on my Instagram about the book if you want to check that out. And then the 10th and a half book that I read is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, which is basically I guess like a fantasy romance. It's about a circus that only opens at night, and it's like super magical. Like, there's real magic that's happening at this circus, but everyone's kind of captivated by the circus that only opens at night. And once you enter, you're kind of like captivated by everything that's going on. Follows a lot of characters. I'm only halfway through, but it's a lot of characters to be keeping track of, and I'm finding it kind of hard to keep going. I enjoy the book. I just feel like it's a lot to remember, and I'm getting the characters confused, and I feel like it's a little hard to get into the characters just because there's so many. And so I can't, not that I need to relate to the characters, but I just can't invest myself into them. But it is good, and I think if you like fantasy with a little bit of romance, that you would probably like this book. I can't rate it yet because I haven't finished it, but that'll probably come in my February wrap-up video. So those are all of the books I read in January. We'll see how many books I get through in February. I'm honestly, like I said, pretty surprised I got through 10 books in January. I normally don't read that many books in 1 month, so for me, that's pretty good. So let me know if you liked this video, if you've read any of the books, what you think, or if you're excited to read some of the books after you watch the video. I'd love to hear in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.